5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
Two white Muslims.
Go.
Assalamu alaikum
Wa rahmatullahi.
wa barakatuh.
My name's Junaid Rahim,
And my name's Muhammad Yusuf Bashforth.
and affectionately we're known as
The Two White Muslims. Assalamu alaikum
Wa rahmatullahi.
wa barakatuh.
What we have for you here is an interview that we pre-recorded with Lieutenant Colonel Lighton, who joined us here at the British Muslim Heritage Centre. We had a we allowed ourselves 10 minutes, as we always do. And how long was he here?
Half an hour later.
More than half an hour. And we all looked at our watch and went, oh my goodness. It's a brilliant interview. Fascinating guy. Hope you enjoy.
Inshallah. Assalamu alaikum
Wa rahmatullahi.
wa barakatuh.
My name's Junaid Rahim.
My name's Muhammad Yusuf Bashforth.
And as you all know, we're affectionately known as...
The Two White Muslims.
Now, we're told there's several reasons for that. We'll just recap very quickly. Reason number 1,
Well, there are two of us.
reason number 2,
We're both white.
and reason number 3,
Alhamdulillahi Rabbil Alameen. We're both.
Muslim.
Alhamdulillah.
And we find ourselves a little starstruck and a little impressed because
We have a guest.
It's not just the two of us today. It's not just the two of us. We have a third person in the room. If I could ask you very quickly to introduce yourself.
Good morning, my name is John Lighton. I'm a Lieutenant Colonel in the British Army and I work in Preston in Headquarters Northwest.
Lieutenant Colonel.
I'm going to say that immediately sounds really impressive.
I feel like I should be on my knees.
Just fantastic. Wow.
I am 52 years of age now, though. It's taken a long time to...
I'm sure it has. Yeah,
Yeah.
I'm sure you've seen some sights along the way as well.
Yes, and
Wow.
started at the very bottom.
Yeah, really.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, of course you'd have to do, wouldn't you?
Well, you don't have to do if you're a graduate.
Okay.
But I joined the Army in 1984 as a reservist.
Ah.
My mother sent me out with I think she gave me £1 to get the tram in Blackpool from one end to the other,
Yeah.
and said, I think you'll enjoy this. It'll help you develop, or maybe less polite words.
Yeah.
Slightly a case of clear off, go and see these people, and I expect you to grow up and don't come back until you have to. And here I am 34 years later.
Wow.
Have you
Wow.
been back yet?
So no, sadly she's passed on,
Oh,
God bless her. But
May
yeah,
I give her-
it kind of worked. And you know what? There's a whole thing in there about parental influence on children, isn't it?
Yeah.
Because
Oh, yeah.
actually, if she had not made that choice for
Yes.
me,
Yep.
I wouldn't be sat here talking to you today.
That's
Yeah.
right.
I'd done probably landed myself in all sorts of trouble and all
Yeah.
sorts of bother.
And
Yeah.
of course, this is. I mean, in view of everything that you've done to put
Yes.
yourself into the position that you're in now.
Yeah.
A Lieutenant Colonel is it's a massive achievement.
It is.
But it has
Well,
to
I
be
left
said
school with an O level. If you two guys remember them.
I do remember
that.
this, yes.
Yeah.
And I had one O level in English literature. And I don't know why, of all the O levels I did and failed, I managed to achieve that one in English literature.
Well,
Because
right,
there is part of my
So
brain
I
that
had to
says,
start right at the bottom there.
yeah, how can you get English literature and not English
grammar.
language?
Yeah, exactly.
Because I
However,
remember doing both. We were similar age when you
Yeah,
mentioned
yeah.
your age. We're similar age. I remember doing me English. There was 2 English O levels. Yeah, golly, that's
Yes,
incredible.
that's it, didn't you?
Incredible. Yeah.
Anyway, we moved past that now,
Yes, very good.
Yeah.
which is good.
Yes,
Okay,
because there's
so-
others. Let's be honest. Are like myself, who are educated beyond their intelligence. Do you know what I mean? They've gone the other way. So brilliant. You've taken
Or
it.
a very good military phrase to that is, for people you come across often, you often meet educated idiots.
Yes, absolutely.
Oh, how often do we meet them?
Yeah.
All the time. Oh my goodness. Yes, yes.
Yeah, quite.
Oh
And,
golly.
you're joining two of those in the studio.
Absolutely.
It has to be said there are 2 villages currently missing an idiot.
Absolutely, yes, yeah. We're always introduced as a pair because if there's just one of us, you only get a half wit.
Yeah.
As a pair, you get a full wit.
Full wit.
Out of interest then, fellas, I think the German phrase, I think for that, is Dorftruckel.
Right, that one.
Dorftruckel.
Right, that
I
one
think.
goes.
It sounds great, even if it isn't.
Well,
a
yeah,
dwarf.
I'm not sure whether my colloquial
Truckle.
German is accurate there.
Oh,
the
brilliant.
Dorf certainly means village. And I was always told when I lived in Germany that Dorftruckle was German slang for an English equivalent village idiot.
Oh,
yeah.
Brilliant.
Yeah.
And would they have the same? Because you can
I
have.
think so, but
It might be direct translation, but would they understand what that is if we meant?
I'm not sure.
You know what I
you
mean?
know, because
Oh, it's
I
extraordinary.
don't know how often you've been exposed to German people, but they have a reputation for having a peculiar, slightly peculiar sense of humour.
Yes.
I think
Yeah.
that's not inaccurate, and that's just a cultural
Yeah.
difference between English people, British people, and people who've grown up in Germany. And there's all sorts of heritage in that. You could talk about this all day, couldn't you? 'Cause lots of parts of Germany have got a strong, very Catholic heritage. Certainly the southern parts and some of the eastern bits. So to and I think people will then also say, for example, there's a very great German word called, I think it's Schadenfreude. And that is laughing other people. I think is that something like laughing at other people's misfortunes?
I believe
isn't
so.
It? But there is no English equivalent to that.
And
so whenever I've seen it written in newspapers in England, people will, such and such had Schadenfreude about this event. And you think, okay, so therefore, and I'm not sure what the original question about, is there an English equivalent for that? I don't know.
No, I'm just wondering, because that be the translation, but it's funny how sometimes you get a difference. We were talking only this morning about how we get a lot of our terminology from sort of physical manifestations. So when people say, "Oh, it's a right pain in the neck," it's because people, get a little bit of pain when they're with somebody that annoys them. If they're British,
that's interesting.
But in France, apparently they say "mal à la dent," which is "I have a pain in my tooth." So if somebody's annoying them, and I used to work for a guy who was French Canadian. Sorry, this is going off the beat. I worked for a guy who was French Canadian, and when I was annoying him, you could see him there sucking at a tooth. He'd be like, I think, wow,
and that's why.
And I'd be like, over my neck. Extraordinary. So yes, they've no doubt got dwarf truckle, but they might not know what it means.
in the same way, exactly.
Yes.
And the origination of language and phrases in language is, I think, a fascinating subject, isn't it?
Yes.
I was talking to a fellow in Liverpool about 10 days ago who explained where he thinks, and I've done no research, I've not even Googled this.
Right.
Where the phrase "by hook or by crook" originated from.
Oh wow!
And that is his. I know you might say thesis for that phrase is something to do with Oliver Cromwell and his conquest. A better description would be his fighting in Ireland in what must have been, I suppose. If my history is accurate enough, it would have been probably after the English Civil War.
Yeah.
So something like the 1650s.
1660, yeah.
And he had said to his generals, because they wanted to capture, I think it was Waterford, which has a crook in the river on one side, by hook, and a hook on the other side of the town.
Oh wow!
So they're riverine features.
Yeah.
So he said to his generals, right, men, we will capture that town by hook or by crook. and
it's stuck.
Yeah, and it's stuck.
Golly.
And it's like the other one I always remember is Beyond the Pale.
Right.
Because Beyond the Pale becomes from I suppose, I'm not sure which part of history you would call it, but it's the and you know what, you could argue about the labels of this for a long time, I think, because people say it was the English invasion of Ireland, but actually those English people weren't English because the Saxons had all been murdered by the Normans who conquered England in 1066, or their leading families had, as you guys know your history, and so the actual people who invaded Ireland, or the south of Ireland, because there's 3 or 4 kingdoms, there's never, in my understanding, entire country until 1926, because when it had been ruled by the English, it was a province. And before that, it was kingdoms.
And also via William of Orange had his little
in 1689 or whatever it was. But all the way back to this, the Beyond the Pale phrase comes from the Parley of Dublin, which was the area, the fortified area, the conquered area around Dublin, which the Normans, the Anglo-Irish, or whatever you wanted to call them, whatever they developed into, but they all spoke French and they were from Norway. Well, they were, weren't they? You know, they weren't Englishmen, whatever that meant. What would that mean to people at that time? They wouldn't have been sat around reading the Sun newspaper for football results all the times, would they? They'd have been talking about, well, I don't know, does my crop work? How sunny it will be today and stuff that was important to them. So Beyond the Pale was anything beyond that.
So
beyond the Pale of Dublin.
A geographic...
Yes.
Oh, wow.
A geographical delineation, which was the fortified, captured area around the original Norman capital, which was Dublin, which means Blackpool, oddly, in Gaelic, I think. And I don't know whether that's just urban legend or not, that last bit. But there you go.
But extraordinary, and a lot of it is the mix between French and German, and then other
blends.
Places. But certainly those core ones.
Your station manager and I talked about this last time we were here.
talking about such a serious subjects.
Yeah, we are.
I thought I
We
should
are.
bring some traditional cake and tea.
Tea's good. You guys always give me far too much cake when I come visit you.
No,
Let me move this out of your way.
plate is huge.
I
this
like
time.
that.
Cake is very small.
Ah,
I'm sorry.
thank you.
This is all I got, but it's handmade.
That's
it's
wonderful.
Absolutely delicious.
all right. Thank you, sir.
I thought you meant the cup. It's handmade.
Yeah.
I get commission.
I love that.
Very good.
I love that.
There's your
We
two white
don't do no
Muslims mug.
propaganda
great.
On our, we don't do no advertising on our cups.
Can I say that back to my office, Wakar?
Of course.
Of course you can. Yes.
Thank you. Thank
More
you,
than
fellas.
welcome. More than welcome. Very good. Thank you very much indeed.
Pleasure is all mine, dear sir.
Incredibly kind.
Okay.
We had a little diversion there for tea and cake.
Yes.
How quintessentially British is that?
Yeah, exactly, isn't it?
But even that makes me giggle. Where did tea come from?
India.
Came from India.
Yeah.
It's quintessentially
And
British,
we
and
had
it is.
Well, it does, doesn't it? We had an interesting argument with a Yorkshireman about this yesterday at a place called Stonyhurst College, which
yes.
you may have come across. It's
I've heard the name.
originally a Jesuit college,
Yes.
Right.
and now it's a very impressive educational establishment.
Yeah.
Yes,
Yeah.
it is.
If only all British people could be educated to that standard.
Yeah,
Anyway, he and I were talking about Yorkshire tea, because of course he had a box of it on his desk.
Yes.
Yeah.
And I said, "You want to try Lancashire tea, mate?" Chop. This is Lancashire. And look out the window. I know you might be from Yorkshire, but that is, if you forgive
Yes,
me,
if you
Pendle
haven't
Hill
ever-
over there. You know what I mean? So perhaps we ought to reconsider this. In fact, I'll go back to Preston, and I'm going to go to Co-op.
Excuse me. It's only Lancashire because they redrew the borders, didn't they?
Well, that bit has always been Lancashire,
Well, has it?
and this is still Lancashire actually.
Are we getting a bit of a red and white rose?
Yes, we are, and that's always very important. And
Not
you
a good
know,
way to settle this, you know.
Yeah. I don't know that we stand much of a chance in this.
Not with this guy, no.
He's got a whole army behind him.
Entire Northern Division of the Army behind me.
and do you know how the roses thing occurred?
Is it as simple
The
as
origination of that?
the two houses?
Yeah, it was.
Tudors
It
and
was.
the-
It was as simple as that. And I can't remember the king's names. I think there was an Edward involved, wasn't there?
Yeah.
At the beginning of all that, and
the
apparently they had a
Stuarts?
disagreement. Oh, it's before that,
Is it
because the
before-
Stuarts.
I always thought it was the Tudors and the Stuarts. Was it not?
That's there later.
Oh, really?
Or I'll come back to that in a minute.
Okay. Yeah. Yeah.
You go back to the origin of the War of the Roses, which probably should have been called the First English Civil War. Don't know.
Wow, okay.
Historians argue because it's 200 odd years before
Yeah.
Cromwell, Roundheads, Catholics, Protestants,
Wow,
all that
yeah.
sort of stuff.
Yeah.
So this was not a religionist war. This was not about a little bit more about coloured roses.
Yeah.
But I think what happened, I can't remember whether it was the king or his adversaries. Those two parties were having a meeting in a house, in a merchant's house in St Albans,
Right.
and they lost the. Well, I was going to say lost the plot. I don't know. That wasn't there. But what I'm trying to say is they fell out big time. They eventually rolled into having a civil war, castle sieges, and all that
Yep.
sort of stuff. And the opponents of the king said, "Right, all those on my side in the garden, pick yourself a white rose."
Wow. As simple
And
as
all
that.
those that were left then said, "Right, you guys," which became the house colours, the Duchy of Lancaster and,
Yes.
and York.
Yeah.
Yep.
You pick a red rose.
Yeah.
And then they had and that's where those colours come from, and the
Wow.
origination of that. And then they had a fight, that lasted 30 odd years or whatever.
Yeah.
And the Duke of Lancaster is always still the monarch because the House of Lancaster succeeded in the conflict,
Yep.
and the monarch is always the Duke of Lancaster as a result. There you go.
That's incredible.
So Her Majesty the Queen Elizabeth.
Talking about this more.
Well, yeah, it's not this.
But how much do I love?
Well, you two
I love
started it, didn't you?
I love stuff
You
like
two
this. I
started
absolutely
it.
adore stuff
Yeah.
like this. So I could now talk about this all day. That's absolutely. So the modern equivalent would be shirts and skins.
Yeah, something like that. Yeah, yeah. Why not?
Just doing the start
Why
of
not
the
in modern
football match.
language? Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, my
Newcastle fans in their skins, and Sunderland fans with their red and white shirts or something, wouldn't it? Yeah.
Yes. And the guys in between hanging
Yes.
monkeys.
Yeah, yes, exactly. But let's not mention that.
Sorry,
Don't,
no,
don't
we'll-
broadcast that
No,
to
we'll keep away from that
Hartlepool.
one.
No,
Okay, we'll keep away from that one.
no, I would.
Wow, extraordinary. Brilliant. So you've very kindly joined us here at the radio station today, which is part of the British Muslim Heritage Centre. What is it that brings you to the centre today?
I brought my boss actually because I want him to have a relationship with you guys. for all sorts of reasons, actually. So this is he's sat upstairs with the chairman now, as you know, and the vice chair, and I'll be having a conversation about all of those sort of things. And it's also, if you come here, I think, having seen the World War One exhibition that travelled around, the stories of sacrifice, and he and I have talked about that, and that, and I'll divert at that point, because I suppose my first encounter with this was I went to a place called Neuve-Chapelle, which either of you two heard of. It's where the Indian Army War Memorial is in northeastern France, so it's less than a day's drive from the Menin Gate.
Right.
Okay.
So you can drive up to Ypres quite quickly.
Yeah.
And that is a most impressive. Structure's not the right word. Memorial doesn't sound like a significant enough word. Wow. But we went there when I say I went there, I went there with them. There was a project organised by the Duke of Lancaster's regiment in 2015, and it's because in World War One they were in an organisation, a brigade, so 6,000 people or so, called the Jalandhar Brigade, and it was called the Jalandhar Brigade because it was stationed in Jalandhar in India.
Wow. Okay.
And in 1914 they'll have had their paper orders in those days. So somebody, I don't even know, you could probably use a telegraph and tap tap tap, and they will have had, right, assemble everybody, take them to Lahore or wherever, and there'll be a ship there waiting for you, and the ship will take you to Antwerp or to Cherbourg, and then you are to go to this location, all 4,000 of you, with your brigadier. And the significance of that brigade was, it was one of our antecedents, so not the Duke of Lancaster's regiment, because that's a creation from 2006 in the modern army. It was the Manchester Regiment, as was called, strange enough, all from Manchester, where we are today. And I think it was the Sind Frontier Force, who would now be, whose derivations would now be in the Pakistani army, I think.
Right.
Yeah,
Okay.
this is the Sindh province. It's
yes.
near Karachi. Yeah.
There you go.
Yeah.
And there was a Sikh battalion was the third part of it. So actually what people didn't, and it's just like Stories of Sacrifice, if you wander around upstairs, it was exactly that. It was in this case Englishmen, Mancunians, and they were all men in those days before we had women,
of course,
all over the place in the army, now to be in the infantry. So it was all men, Mancunians, Indian Muslims, and Indian Sikhs, as you would call them, because of course the whole, as you guys would know well, India then was Bangladesh and East Pakistan and West, and the big bit of Pakistan. So all of that was the same place. So these, and they were all men as well. So they were shipped by boat, and I don't know, they might have come through the Suez Canal, I don't know, they might have gone around Africa, but eventually, having lived in Jalandhar in northern India, in nice warm summers, they will have found themselves in the misery of Belgium in the winter.
Wow.
And so we went there, and we did a commemoration on the 100th anniversary of them arriving in northern France.
Wow.
And we took quite a few folk from East Lancashire. And my friend, who's a Indian Muslim by birth and origin. And we took quite a few Sikhs from Preston as well.
Wow.
And loads of school kids from Manchester and Blackpool, oddly enough. What's the connection with that? Well, the connection with that was that Neuve-Chapelle was twinned after World War One. What I hadn't realised is another utterly strange fact that you didn't think you were going to pick up on or know of this morning. You can never conceive of. English towns adopted broken French towns and Belgian towns after World War One.
Oh wow!
So
that's
Blackpool
where the twinning came from.
or a type of it,
right?
And not necessarily now, because Blackpool is twinned with a place called Bottrop in Germany.
Okay.
Oddly, no idea what the connection for that is.
Right.
However, all the way back after World War One, and I have no idea where this bit came from. It just existed. Is that Blackpool, for some reason, I don't know whether they asked to do it or were asked to do it, but they were twinned with Neuve-Chapelle to support Neuve-Chapelle and its journey back to normality, having been wrecked by
decimated,
or more than decimated by the. You'd have to say who did that. The German army did that, because that's fact. But it was a broken place that had been fought over for 4 years, sort of thing. So it puts a lot of 20th century history into perspective when you think about civic responsibility being enacted. And never mind Brexit. Let's not go on that subject.
And don't get me started.
No. It's not got long enough today.
No. And I overheard when you were chatting before that you've obviously been incredibly busy because of the 100-year anniversary. But I often just kind of sit and think. We have television now. We have the internet. We have colour books. If you go back 100 years, there was no internet. There was nothing. So for these guys to travel, and both sets of guys, for the guys to travel from this country into Europe, they'd never been out of their own villages. Some of them, you know what I mean? And then to travel to another country, actually, albeit a similar country.
Things like going on a train would have been a novelty for a lot of people,
and then a ship.
Yes.
I remember my grandfather saying they saw the sea once a year. You know, they got on a shower bank and that was it. But to consider the guys coming from India and Pakistan, going to France, whilst they'll be speaking a different language, it's still it's Europe. It's similar. But one thing I'd not contemplated until we went around the stories of sacrifice as well, and we did a few videos about it, which we uploaded to YouTube. To consider those guys coming across, and then all of a sudden, people from England seeing, meeting, and spending time with somebody of an incredibly varied culture, must have been shocking, but also fascinating from both sides.
Stretch your mind.
It
would. And I was thinking about that when I saw Wakow before, because I had a brilliant conversation with him in his office about 4 weeks ago. But he was tangents all over the place.
That's what
I know. And at the end of it, my head was warm because he's having me thinking in all sorts of different directions and then coming back and linking stuff. Yeah, but if you think about that, it must have been just incredible.
Yeah. And
actually, that takes me back to the English language again, because actually, the phrase, do you know where the phrase posh comes from?
Yes. I think I do.
I think you do. Yeah. Port out, starboard home.
And
that's sailing around the Cape of... Which one is at the bottom of Africa? I'm never sure. It's the Cape of Good Hope, isn't it?
Well, I was always told that it was the transatlantic crossing, and it was in the days when people didn't want to get a tan. Nowadays, we go out of our way.
Side of the boat.
So you know, they wanted the opposite side, which was apparently port out, starboard home, is what I'd heard. That you were trying to stay away from the sun, which is extraordinary. It would now be OSP.
Yes.
Because you'd want the opposite.
Yeah, you would, wouldn't you? I'm not sure it'd be transatlantic, though.
No. That's just...
Because if you were starboard home, the sun would be on the south anyway.
Of course it would.
So that's why... Maybe.
Oh, yeah, of course it would. Yeah, that doesn't work then, does it?
East, sun.
Yes.
Anyway.
It would work going around Africa.
Yes, it would, wouldn't it?
Yeah. Well, I'm going to change what I say going forward. But fascinating. But just to think of... Like I say, even if we've not met people from different cultures, we've seen them, we've heard them. To have not seen them, to have not heard them, to know nothing about them, to the only things you read to be sort of English novels, and all of a I find it fascinating. I find it absolutely.
You're working together.
Yeah, working together.
Conditions.
Yes. Yeah.
What kinds of uniforms did they turn up in? Because they came over from India.
Well, that's a very good question. I don't know.
Oh, wow.
I don't know. You rightly imply that you would need something different to adapt from one climate to another, wouldn't you? Yeah, exactly. But you need something a lighter one because it'd be hot, sweaty, dusty, arid, and then you come to a muddy field, a swamp.
But it's knowing that. It's knowing that, because I remember many years ago holidaying in the Gambia. And chatting to some locals there, and just getting really friendly and familiar with the locals, and as I think you should do when you travel the world. And they couldn't understand what it was to be cold. And we were saying, well, in our winter, you'd wear a vest, and then a t-shirt, and then a jumper, and then you put this on, and you put that on,
put your jacket
and trying to describe these layers of clothing. And this one guy went, no, we just play football. And his idea was, if you get cold, you just play football.
That great Donald Rumsfeld phrase, you know, it's about unknown unknowns, isn't it? And you don't know what you don't know.
Exactly. Right. Yeah. It's what is it, I should know this. Unconscious
competence.
Unconscious competence. Yeah. It's a training phase. Not knowing what you don't know.
Yes.
Unconscious incompetence.
Yeah.
Unconscious incompetence. I like that. I remember that one. I know quite a few people like that.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
I know quite a few that are conscious incompetence.
Absolutely. Well, that's it. Because the next stage is to be consciously incompetent. So,
yes.
But at least you know. At least you know. And then to move on is to get the skill. But so many people say that. Well, I know I don't know it, but I'll stick with that.
I'll stay.
You know, and an awful lot of them, well, tend to be, it would appear in US politics. But there you go.
Well, let's not get into
Exactly,
that.
exactly.
Gone about that a long time, haven't we?
Dear, oh dear. So you're saying your boss is here today because we interviewed his I suppose your former boss, who'd played a real
I know
active
very
role.
well.
Oh, fantastic! Wonderful guy, and he
is, isn't he?
Yeah, because
Fine Manchester United fan.
that
Isn't
came
he?
out.
Yeah,
Yes,
I bet
that
it
came
did.
out. That came out.
There's a lot of stuff came out, and it was a really interesting.
Oh,
yeah, he is.
He's a nice
Fascinating.
guy.
Yes.
Yeah, he is.
Yeah.
Truly
He is.
nice fella.
Described
He's finished
his,
now. He's
his
finished. He's
background
gone to work
for-
altogether. Yeah.
Yeah, he's gone to
Yeah.
work for the NHS.
Wow,
which I'm
brilliant.
sure it'll do. I know he'll do a very good job there. But yes.
but
It's-
and
but it's
did
incredible to
loads of
think-
work here with the centre.
Yes.
Incredibly involved.
Well, it's back to him. It's his positive influence that brought me first here. Just over a year ago.
Wow.
So yeah, and therefore, and he was quite clear to me, you know, because he knew I'd still be here or working in Preston, that this relationship needs to be developed.
Yeah.
And and become persistent.
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah. Yeah.
So it's thanks to his vision in that respect.
Yeah. The centre, everybody involved in the centre, is very, very supportive of this relationship.
Yes.
Yeah.
And very supportive of developing it
Yeah.
and making it continue and flourish.
Yeah.
Yes.
You know,
Absolutely.
it's very important that we do that because of the shared values that
Yes.
we've all got.
Yes.
You know,
And I think we're back here. Colonel Miller and I are back here on the 15th because Ashraf, the other Ashraf,
Yes.
who, and I get confused as well.
As do we.
And the Ashraf who works in Brussels
Yes. Yes.
has organised a statecraft event, hasn't he?
Oh right.
I think with Mr. Donnelly, Chris Donnelly,
Yeah.
and we're invited to that. And I'm waiting for Ashraf to tell me a bit more about that later.
Yes. Yes. Yeah.
But we'll back that quickly. It's 2 weeks tomorrow, isn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Already.
Wow. Crikey.
December tomorrow, gentlemen.
Yes. Yeah, as you were saying,
Oh,
was
my
it
goodness, is it?
three working weeks till Christmas? You
Joy.
know, which is how we tick
And as I said-
tick our calendar
Yeah,
down.
and as I said to Wacker, I've done nothing about it, and I'm quite happily in bliss, knowing it's still November
Absolutely.
till
I'll be
tomorrow
fine.
morning. Yeah, till tomorrow morning.
Wake up with a start.
Yeah, exactly.
Wow, incredible. Yes. So, is your journey here today just to introduce?
Yeah, to start that relationship off with Nessar and his vice chair,
Yeah.
who we introduced you before, and take it on from there.
Yes.
Simple as that today.
Brilliant.
And is it Colonel Miller?
Yes, it is. Yeah.
Colonel Roy Miller?
Russell.
Russell.
Yes.
Colonel
Yeah,
Russell
yeah.
Miller. Wow,
Yeah.
extraordinary. Yeah. And so he now heads up. Is it the northern?
Yeah,
half of the-
it's called
in
Headquarters
its
Northwest. So
Wow.
everybody in the army, if you will, has a responsibility to him.
Yeah.
In the northwest of England, which is not that many people anymore. For several reasons, our army is somewhat smaller than when I joined it.
Okay.
Yeah, sure.
20-something years ago.
Yeah.
28 years ago. I didn't like to say that actually.
It's difficult when you stop.
Yeah, no.
I'm trying to work. I was working out the other day when I passed my driving test, and just think,
Yeah, let's not go there.
No,
yes,
no.
yeah.
Italian 1990.
Yes.
Stuart Pearce, all that sort of stuff.
Yeah,
Yeah,
which
exactly.
lives in my brain goes. Well, it's only a few years ago.
It's not 28 though, isn't it?
And that's
Yeah.
the thing. Yeah.
So everybody has responsibility to him, and he's responsible for things as diverse as what we call UK operations,
Okay.
which is 3 years ago flooding in Cumbria and Lancashire, that sort of
Yeah,
stuff.
Wow. Yes.
15, 16 years ago, foot and mouth outbreaks in Lancashire and Cumbria.
Yeah. Crikey.
More recently and more sadly, Manchester bombing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
An army support to that.
Yes. Yeah.
Because obviously it's police business.
Yeah.
We deal with all the cadet forces, all the reserve forces, and also then he has responsibility for things like what we would call in a word engagement, but what it means is maximising inflow into the army, connecting with society, and engaging with society just more generally. And that's what I do, and the people that I work with and work for me specialise in doing, really.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Or not necessarily specialising, that's what we're supposed to do. Well, yeah, it is more complicated. We have to.
But we always say the
Somewhere,
same
haven't
thing.
you?
We always say exactly the same thing. I'll see you bright and early tomorrow. Well, early.
Well,
Yeah, exactly. Yes, exactly.
Wow. It just sounds like a fascinating role that you undertake.
It's not too bad because actually, the northwest of England, as you guys know, that we're sort of sat in the southeast corner of it, really.
Yeah.
There's a lot of space and a lot of people and a lot of variety in between here and here in Scotland, actually.
Yeah.
And it's only an hour and a half away.
Actually,
7.2 million people, isn't it?
Yep.
Wow.
And Colonel Harrison would have had a view on this. There's places as culturally diverse as Liverpool and Manchester.
Yes.
Being a Man United fan, you know his what his viewpoints on that would have been.
Absolutely.
But actually, as a northern man myself, born in Blackburn, went to university in Lancaster and stuff. You know, you got places as strange strangely, but you know, in the same county that was Barrow-in-Furness, Manchester, Liverpool, Burnley, all in the same. And that's it's one of the beauties of England, actually, isn't it?
It is.
Yeah.
And my friend yesterday, Andrew Barber, he would have talked about Yorkshire in the same delightful way.
Yeah.
And actually, to be fair to him, he's probably right, but I'd never admit that to him.
Okay. Yeah. Well, you are sat amidst two
Yorkshiremen, absolutely.
No, you didn't mention that, did you? You didn't mention
We thought
that.
we'd let that one go.
No, you didn't until you got
back
me
into the
to hang myself. Yeah.
Well, it's beyond the pale.
Yes, it is beyond the pale there, definitely.
I'm from Wakefield in West Yorkshire, just 10 miles south.
I'm Sheffield born and bred, but however live in Wakefield now. And Yusuf says that I got
Promoted from Sheffield
to Wakefield, but it's still on the
Interesting.
Yorkshire border. It's still on the Yorkshire side.
Yorkshire.
Yes. E.
Yes, by gum, indeed.
So we had
The others are both long necks, then, aren't you? You're fighting talk around Pendle.
Do you know what? Do you know what? I used to like this game.
Excellent.
Oh, incredible! Yeah. So, what else? You're here with the Colonel today, and then in the very near future, back in about 2 weeks.
Yes.
Anything else booked in the calendar?
Not so much booked in the calendar, but I need to have discussions. I had a long chat with Ashraf about what we might do. He was talking. He's got a few ideas for cultural awareness training, because it takes us back in the conversation to that. What do you say? Unconscious?
Oh yeah, unconscious incompetence.
Yes.
Yeah, not knowing.
I'm not sure that's the right. Yeah, not knowing what you don't know anyway.
Yeah.
And there's something in there, because actually, you know, we touched on the fact that, or Nassar and Waka touched on the similarities in values of citizens, and actually, army values are the same as Islamic values.
Yes.
Pretty much.
Yes. Yeah.
Respect, selflessness.
Yeah.
Looking after other people, all that sort of
Yes.
selfless commitment, all those sort of things. But that's just this is always like just a giant onion. If you peel off that skin, then you get to the next one.
Yeah.
And that's where I am in the conversation with Ashraf.
Yeah.
And what we need to do is, he has the knowledge, you know, and actually we need to share some of that.
Yeah.
And he will help us do that, because actually, a lot of people who join the army from the northwest of England don't know anything about Islamic culture. Actually, although if you come from Blackburn like I do, it's probably only just down the road.
Yeah.
You know, literally just down the road, and you'll see people all the time who are obviously Islamic, because perhaps of their dress differentiates them, or whatever, or they go into a mosque and you haven't been there before, and you won't know what's going on.
Yeah.
And it's but then in my case, 35, 40 years later, I find out that Islamic values are pretty much the same thing as the Army's values.
Yes. Yeah.
So,
Junaid, we can help them on this journey, can't we?
Yes.
I was thinking
with something that we did.
Yeah.
Because we put a series of videos together, and we put them out onto YouTube.
Okay.
And we put them into a playlist of 21 videos.
Okay.
Now, each of these videos is 3 to 5 minutes long.
Okay.
So it's not a big ask to watch them.
No, it's not, is
you
it?
get through the whole lot in an hour and a half, a little over. But it tells you, we've tagged this, everything you ever wanted to know about Islam and Muslim culture.
Okay.
But couldn't be bothered to ask.
But couldn't be bothered to ask.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay.
That's how we've tagged this.
Yeah.
And it takes you through, step by step, first of all, what is Islam?
Yeah.
Who was Muhammad? Peace be upon him. What is it? The 5 pillars of Islam. What are they? What are the 6 principles of our faith? What do we actually believe in? Then it talks about what happens in a mosque, features of a mosque.
Yeah.
It talks about women's rights in Islam. We did 6 videos on women in Islam. We talk about jihad. We talk about Sharia law. We talk
What
about
it is,
all
what
of
it isn't.
Yes.
We talk about the background to Muslims in Britain. Where did they all come from, and when? And
Yes.
and et cetera, et cetera. So we can very much help support that,
Excellent.
that process
Good.
of education just by introducing people to the YouTube channel. That
What
we
a good
put
place to
together.
start.
Which was the whole point of us launching that a few months ago, and then everything else was rolled out of that. We thought we'd put those together, put it out
and
there,
walk away.
and then go back to our normal jobs.
Yeah, understood.
Yes.
Do we need to get you?
Yes, because
okay.
he needs to leave to go somewhere else at
Oh, right, cool.
10:45 actually.
Oh wow, okay. Well, then.
We've now done 34 minutes
No.
of a 10-minute interview. Yes.
All right,
goodness.
excellent.
I genuinely thought we'll do
All right.
that just showed how wonderful it was. Genuinely,
Good.
thank you
fellas,
so
yeah.
much. Thank you
And I'll
so
be
much for your
delighted to come
time.
back and talk to you more if you want.
Really appreciate
Thank
it.
you.
Yeah.
I'm sorry we've kept you up. I can't
That's
believe
all right.
I cannot believe. I thought it was about 5 minutes.
Did you really?
Yes, totally sorry.
really pleased to speak with you.
Yes.
Okay. Your guys are welcome in here anytime.
Yeah. What you're
We'd
doing
be
is
very,
absolutely
very happy.
fantastic. It's
We-
a great
we-
relationship.
We want this relationship to continue. We want it to grow and get closer.
Okay.
Anything that we can do to help you in that mission.
All right. Well, if
just
you want me to come
give us a
talk to you
call.
more about the army, I gladly will, gentlemen.
I'd love to do
days.
that.
Yeah,
I'd love to
all
do
right.
that. Yes,
Thank
yes.
you.
I'll leave you a card before I go somewhere if I can
Brilliant.
find them.
Fantastic.
I'm going to give you one of ours.
We'll do the
Yeah,
same.
good.
Yeah.
And I better
Lieutenant
go
Colonel,
find my
thank you
boss if I
very,
will.
very much indeed for your
It's all
time.
right.
Thank
Really
you so
appreciate
much
it.
again.
Pleasure.
Okay.